I just wanted to kind of like talk about what Black art does, I think, from my perspective, or what it can do, particularly when we talk about issues around race and other intersectional ideas around identity. So the idea of an Afro-future or a Black space in the future is really, really a radicalized idea, particularly when you think about the amount of racialized violence that has traditionally happened to Black people in America, and also the systemic imprisonment of people of color because of the prison industrial complex, right? There's been a huge pushback, I think, artistically, both poetically, I mean, it's like poets and practitioners from various standpoints of the arts who are also organizing on the ground, but using science fiction, fantasy, horror, these different like pop culture references, but through an Afrocentric lens. And I can see that that is going to be a even more powerful space.
I grew up in a primarily white community, and I didn't have very many a good understanding of diverse backgrounds. So one of the first classes that I took on campus was a visual theory class, and it really opened me up to feminism, Black art, all these different topics, and really understanding different cultures and understanding that. So going more in depth into the Black art discussion with John Jennings was really a transformative experience, because you get to understand that there is a completely different discussion happening in a Black art sense as opposed to a regular art production, and how we view Black artists and their artwork.
As someone who's not part of the art field, I consider all art just to be art. I don't consider, like I didn't really think about things like feminist art or Black art or all these different types of subcategories. But the first thing that struck me was when we spoke about how Black art is something of some form of rebellion. It can lead to you empowering not only other people of color, but also showing that to show these different opinions and express these different things and still have it be effective.
The reason why I decided to talk about Black art was prompted a little bit by some of the issues that jumped off with Ashley Powell's Our Compliance piece, also known as the whites only, blacks only signage. One of the things I thought was really interesting was let's see, I want to say not to say illiteracy is the right word, but the lack of connection to Black feminine politics as illustrated through like protest art and different things of that nature. And to me, like a lot of the conversations that were happening around this piece or these ideas, were some things that had been discussed in the 50s, right?
In regards to the white only, Black only art project on campus, I actually disagreed with the speaker in this case. And we spoke about how the conversation was something that was more with the African American population on campus and how they felt that it was something that they needed to address. But I actually think it had a decent impact on the people that aren't of color on campus, and it made them think more about it was just a small thing. It didn't really invoke real racism, but to the extent that it did, it just brought up so much conversation that everyone had to reconsider what these small acts or what we think are these small acts and how they actually affect everyone else on campus. And I think it definitely had a bigger role in showing that not only to the people of color on campus, but also to people that aren't of color, and making all of us understand how even the smallest simple thing like a label could have such a big impact and create such conversation and controversy.
To a certain degree, Black images or Black people in a particular space is already protest art. We're not necessarily supposed to be here. Someone from my generation wasn't supposed to exist now. I always reference myself as a unicorn because the space that I was coming up in, Black males in an urban space were not supposed to live past 25 years old. That was our life expectancy. So to me, people of color in those spaces are already performing a particular type of art. When Black Lives Matter as a space is doing this disruption of someone's dinner or a speech, they're using the power of the text of the Black body to make a statement, right? A political statement. And so I think that really, really good Black art uses Blackness not only as an identity, but as a medium. The medium itself of race becomes, very powerful.
All these artists who are trying to portray these messages, I have to give more recognition to, because now I see a little bit more of their side and I see a little bit more of what they're actually trying to portray and how, they're trying to fight back against these bigger schemes with only using, their two hands and a pen or a paper or a pencil or a paintbrush, just all these different ways that I wouldn't have considered it before, where now I have to actually consider it, and then, I can just tell other people about it. Understanding the image, trying to understand what the artist is trying to convey. Once you can grasp those things, that's when the uneasiness sort of floats away. You can understand what they're trying to say, and then from there you begin to become more comfortable with it, and you want to find out what else is in there, what else are they hiding, because now that I understood that one piece, I interpreted that one part of it, I was still feeling easy, yes, but I'll have an easier time trying to understand what was going on, and I'll have an easier time looking at it the second or the third or even the fourth time around.
I hope that the students who attended tonight would take away parts of American heritage, parts of like the sometimes the unwritten history of racial politics in America, because I think that is part of like what I think Black art is supposed to do, is to push back against these particular types of oppressive spaces. There seems to be some serious issues in the fabric of our country around race, and I think that art has always been a really powerful cultural production to deal with, those types of issues. So, and I hope that the students get that they also have a voice, and that they can utilize those types of tactics and to talk about these things actively.
There wasn't a lot of diversity in the room, but I think that really stems from the idea that people want to talk about things that actually impact themselves. They want to talk about something that makes sense to them. So for me, that outlet was through art, and that's how I came to the discussion. Art definitely has the ability to draw people together.
I would say to the white students who didn't come that they missed a part of themselves, because Black history, Black art, it's all American art. This is our history together. And one of the things that always bothers me about like February and these spaces is this segregation. This is our story together, whether you like it or not. America's a very complex and beautiful space, and some things we don't want to talk about. But as a Black artist, it's part of my charge to do that. And I train the students that I work with, whatever issues they have, to always speak truth to power and actually talk about these issues, because they have to come out one way or the other.